Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to do something different. We're not going to give you medical advice. Check with your doctor before you implement. We're just going to give you things to do further research on. But we're going to take your questions and give you some very powerful information today. So stay tuned.
That's terrific. And we've got lots of questions from our audience as always. And we've got 3 people in what we call the green room and tons of great questions, a couple of true falsers. So action-packed Friday. And let's start off with Chanel for Lynn from Rumble. If prebiotics feed the microbiome, will they also feed the bad guys in our gut? That's a good question at the same time. Is it possible to use your 60 billion probiotic product to make yogurt? There's another question.
Okay, so yes, you can make yogurt out of that. We've tested it. It's a pretty wild growth of different microbes. It's just you're just going to magnify the results. So just realize it'd be super potent. So you don't need much, because when you cultivate it in half and half, you're you're supercharging it. You're going from a certain level. I mean, every 3 hours it doubles. So it's just like it keeps magnifying. It might be every 6 hours, but it definitely will end up with a tremendous amount of microbes. Okay, when you take prebiotics, you have this balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria. By taking prebiotics, it's not going to increase the bad bacteria. Everything is in check. You don't just have bacteria, you also have friendly funguses, friendly mold, friendly yeast. And when you take an antibiotic and you kill off the good bacteria, then you have some interesting things. You have an overgrowth of certain yeast and fungus and mold. So apparently the bacteria is there to keep it in check. A lot of the yeast, fungus, mold, they can eat various things. They can eat sugar, refined sugar. They can eat different versions of sugar. But typically what's going to happen when you have fiber, you're not just going to magnify the bad bacteria, because everything is there in check. So the way to what to eat to increase the bad bacteria is just a lot of refined junk and sugar, because that's what they love, and they'll thrive. And this is why if you have a yeast infection, you don't want to be consuming like a lot more sugar or even milk sugar. And by avoiding that, you can actually starve them off.
All right, very good. On to the next one. Carly, 408 from our friends at Rumble. Is it okay to blend Reuteri yogurt ingredients with a whisk, or should they only be stirred? There's a specific one.
No, you can use a whisk, and I just wouldn't use a high-powered blender, but you can use a whisk and just really dissolve it very well. There's going to be little clumps of inulin fiber in there. That's fine if it's just a little bit. It's not an issue. But the main thing is when you put the probiotic, if you're just opening up a capsule in that fiber, I would mix it up first, then add a little bit, maybe a couple tablespoons of that half and half. Mix it up as much as you can. You can whisk it, and then add the rest of the mixture, and then really mix it well. And it'll turn out fine as long as your container is fairly clean, like you want to put it under hot water with soap. Because I made the mistake of, not cleaning it thoroughly. And all of a sudden I saw these little spots of black and pink, different colors of microbes growing in there, which I'm sure you could still eat, but I didn't experiment on that.
Gross. Okay, Pamela from Facebook, I watched your video on boron. I tried it for arthritis and it worked. Pain was gone in 3 weeks. Thank you. Is this something I should continue as a preventative measure?
I would take boron in a blend of trace minerals, or when you take it, take also the other trace minerals, because that way you never want to take just one thing out of the normal complex for a very long period of time, but I'm glad it helped you. And boron has some really amazing properties for arthritis. There's a whole story about it. It's actually in my video. You can watch it. But yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people are benefiting from. And also it makes if you have osteoporosis, it can actually make the bone very, very strong, along with vitamin K2, vitamin D, and magnesium.
Okay, let's go to YouTube with Roger. And he wants to know, creatine's good for muscles, but I've heard that it can also help with brain health and mitochondria and so on? Is there any, truth to
If
that?
you think about how you generate energy in the mitochondria, you're making ATP, okay? And you can run your body on glucose, fat, but when you do sudden bursts of energy, your body doesn't have the mechanism's not set up to just burn fat. So the first, I would say, 10 to 15 seconds, you have this explosive fuel that your body can run on, which involves creatine. So when you actually consume creatine, you can actually help your performance with exercise. And yeah, you can support the mitochondria, but you're going to just basically get you're going to feed the system a bit more creatine to help more with more, especially the explosive type movements and exercises that you're going to do. So it greatly help that. It has a lot of other benefits too, but did a whole video on that. You can watch that in detail.
All right, go get him, Roger. Sounds like you're on the right track. Elise, from Facebook. What are your thoughts about getting regular mammograms?
I can't tell you to do it or not do it, but I'm going to say that personally, I don't like the idea because you're creating. There's a bit of trauma there, and if I'm not mistaken, there's also ultrasound. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, and there's some data about ultrasound too that this sound wave can also affect our physiology too. I mean, even like when they're doing early ultrasounds on fetuses, there's some data that that might not be the best idea in the world because you're putting these sound waves. But with the mammogram, there's compression there. So do we want to be traumatizing the breast? Is there another way? I could do a video on that, but I'm not going to get into it too much because I'll probably get in trouble, Steve.
Don't do that, for goodness sakes. It's easy to do that these days. John David from Australia, thanks for joining us from down under. On YouTube, I'm addicted to your electrolyte powder. I can relate. I drink 4 to 5 cups of it a day, plus add it to my coffee. Is that okay, or is he overdoing it?
It's totally fine. Totally fine. You're getting the electrolytes. One thing about that's really unique about that, you're getting a lot of potassium. And potassium is something that most people are deficient in. And your body has a very easy time getting rid of excess if you do have an excess. But if you just evaluated your daily intake of food and you put it through an app that shows you how much potassium you're getting, I would bet anything it's not 4,700 milligrams, and that's what you need. There's data to show that we even need more than that. Potassium is very important in the sodium potassium pump to keep all our cells recharged. It's good for the heart. It's good for electrolytes. It's good for helping you store sugar as glycogen. There's a lot of things it does, and it's hard to get that 4,700 per day.
All right. Sounds like you're on the right track. Miriam from Facebook, which version of magnesium is the best for chronic fatigue?
I would take the glycinate. Why? Because it absorbs like 80%. So magnesium glycinate. And that way, even in, of course, I'm not biased of my own, but I will say that, and I have to clarify this in the label because like one capsule, if I'm not mistaken, is I think 130 milligrams. But you have to realize that's the elemental. That's because they have to add this other molecule to get it to be absorbed and transported effectively. So when you're taking magnesium glycinate, there's going to be so much glycinate and so much magnesium. So when you see on the label 100, and I think it's 120, 130, you're getting that's how much actual magnesium that you're getting. I didn't even account for all the glycinate, which gives you glycine, which turns into GABA, which helps calm your nervous system. It helps you sleep. So that would be the best thing because you're right. Magnesium is necessary to make ATP, energy. And a lot of people don't don't take magnesium to get more energy, but it can help you get more energy, which, by the way, can help you sleep. If you don't have enough energy, you're gonna have a difficult time sleeping, because when you're dreaming, especially when you're dreaming, you're actually, and when you're in REM sleep, you're actually using a lot of energy to do that processing in your brain. So you need ATP for that. Things don't just shut down to normal. And also, one of the purposes of sleeping is to clean up and detoxify the brain. Well, if you notice, if you don't have a good night's sleep, you feel kind of like your head feels dirty, or you don't feel as clean. That's because that system didn't clean the brain.
All right. Well, to confirm, it's 120 milligrams per capsule, and full disclosure, I chug 2 a night, get great sleep. All right, enough about that.
That's elemental. So that's that basically, yeah, that's the elemental. There's a lot more stuff in there, but it's glycinate, basically.
All right, very good. So we got a lot of people on the right track, sounds like. Let's see, Goomba Vinny from Rumble, which is better, berberine or dihydroberberine?
I don't have a good answer. I have not looked at that. I don't know. You have to look it up. Sorry.
Okay, very good. Why don't we go to quiz question number 4, or 1, excuse me, then. And there it is.
Okay. What is the most powerful food on the planet for your immune system?
Climb on that, audience, and we'll climb back into social media, where Nala from YouTube, what is your opinion for using glass in the kitchen, such as pans, pots, serving dishes, etc.?
What is my what?
Your opinion of using glass kitchenware.
I think it's slightly better than using aluminum, and I think it's a lot better than using some of the iron skillets, which then you give you too much iron. So, and I think it's slightly better than using plastic. So I do like glass a lot.
Great. All right, Nala, you heard it first from there. Let's see. Why don't we go to our green room? And the first up today for us is a nice fellow named Chris. And Chris, you are on for one quick question with Dr. Berg. Go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, sir. Resident of Northeast Oklahoma, where ticks are prevalent. And after a few months of having a rash running up my arms and not knowing what it was, nor after going to the doctor and dermatologist multiple times where they predicted it was several other things, finally figured out it was called alpha-gal. And I am following the dietary restriction of not having anything mammal-based, butter, meat, etc., and sugar as well, completely avoiding that. And the coloration of the rash has improved. The intensity has improved some, but I'm still itching at different times of the day or night. And so far, of the, again, dermatologist and doctor I've talked to, they've kind of said, well, that's just what you're stuck with. And I don't fully buy that. So, and
how long has it been?
This started
how much time?
probably. It started October, November. Once they figured out what it was, that's probably been about 3 months ago. So for a solid 2 months, probably. And I've started fasting. Right off the bat, and I've never fasted, so that was an experience. Right off the bat, I did a 48-hour, and man, that's tough when you're not used to that. And then, so I've started on Sundays now. I'll do a 24-hour fast just to see if I can reset something.
Well, you're in luck, because one of the topics we're going to talk about today is the immune system, which is going to be coming up next. But I would add another piece of the puzzle, which is high doses of vitamin D3. I would start taking about 50,000 hours of vitamin D3 with the cofactors, of course, magnesium, just to get your levels maybe close to 100. And that way your immune system can kind of start helping you. The microbes involved in ticks tend to downgrade your vitamin D receptors too, so it keeps your immune system weak. So this is why it can take forever. The other thing, we're going to talk about something very soon that will help you, but the last point I want to bring up is, now 2 more points. When you take a hot shower, what I used to do is just turn up the shower even hotter and try to put it right on the itching rash and to desensitize it. And that seems to really help for the rest of the day for itching and things like that. The other thing, there's two, well, actually I thought of something else too. If you have a cold bath immersion, I used to do that. Wow. Talk about literally shocking the immune system to reset it. That has helped. And then work up your way to a 72-hour fast. And the reason for the 72 hours, and those are hard to do right off the bat, so you got to work up to it. The 72-hour, there's something magical that happens. You get literally a reset of your immune system. You literally generate stem cells for your immune system. So I know that will be something very beneficial as well. So those are some things I would recommend.
All right, thank you.
All right, good luck with that. That's a tough one. Stupid ticks. All right, let's, we have Chris that's joined us today, but he's not alone. And we could say, well, we're in the United States, so, we like the United States, which we love, but we're not going to ignore the rest of the people around the world that take their time out to watch the show. So let's say a good day to all of our viewers joining us from the U.S., of course, and the U.K., Canada, Mexico, Australia, Jordan, Algeria, Panama, Ireland, Pakistan, South Africa, Colombia, Japan, Israel, Poland, France, the Netherlands, Nepal, India, Vietnam, Indonesia, New Zealand, Greece, Sweden, Brunei, Italy, the Canary Islands, Scotland, Denmark, Chile, Tanzania, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Singapore, Qatar, American Samoa, Trinidad and Tobago, Laos, Guatemala, Germany, Albania, the Czech Republic, Malta, Switzerland, the Dominican Republic, hang on, my thing slipped, Ghana, Cameroon, Bolivia, Estonia, Peru, the Philippines, the Virgin Islands, American Samoa, Finland, Ukraine, and I think I already said this, but all across the United States. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. That's terrific. Let's go to quiz question number 1 for some answers from the audience. And that question asked us, as soon as pop up, it asks, what is the most powerful food on the planet for your immune system? The audience has an opinion where 58% say it's fatty fish, 22% say it's beef liver, and 10% say it's moringa or garlic, and 10% say it's grass-fed meat, moringa, or garlic, and 10% say grass-fed meat. Where are we at with that, Doc?
Well, we didn't hit it, but there's something that literally is 1,000 times more powerful. It has things in there that are not just going to boost your immune system. It's actually going to give you your immune system. Maybe I just gave it away. And that would be the first breast milk, including colostrum. Now, what is colostrum? Colostrum is a very amazing, magical fluid that occurs the first few days of when milk is produced, or actually, like even for animals and things like that. When we have a lot of sheep and goats, and so if that sheep or goat doesn't get that colostrum, they don't survive usually. It's interesting though, because if you were not breastfed, doctors really don't emphasize the importance of colostrum. When you're taking colostrum, you're literally taking your mother's immune system, all the training, all the experience of the immune system being built up, all the antibodies. It's like a download of your immune system from your mom. So this is why it's so important for breastfeeding. But let's say, for example, you weren't breastfed. You can get colostrum in a supplement from animals like cow or a goat. And so I would recommend, especially for the gentleman who had the Lyme situation or the tick bite, I would highly recommend that colostrum. And you want to get freeze-dried colostrum, because that's like raw. It's like live. You're going to get probiotics in there. You're going to get immune factors or stem cells. There is so many amazing, magical things in there. And a lot of people will take it later in life for loss of muscle. It's like sarcopenia with aging. They'll take it for advanced eye problems like macular degeneration. They'll take it for arthritis. They'll take it for, if you have leaky gut, you need to take it. And let's see, what other, long COVID, any type of sinus issues, any type of allergies. Colostrum is going to be very important. If you can get it freeze dried, that's the one I would take. But yeah, the most important food that we all were supposed to consume early on was that first breast milk that had the colostrum. And it's just amazing. And even what's even more amazing, when someone is breastfed, you have this interaction between the baby and the mother, and saliva actually is sending, it's like a two-way communication. Saliva is being picked up by the breast, and then information goes in there looking for pathogens, electrolytes, nutrition, and then on demand, the breast starts producing different things to improve the immune system, give more nutrition, give more of this, give more of that. I mean, that's like just mind-blowing that can occur. So it's like you get this diagnosis and tailor-made treatment all in one. So don't neglect the breastfeeding if you're going to have kids.
Okay, Chris, that is for you. It was just on with the alpha-gal disease. Get yourself some freeze-dried colostrum. And let's move on to quiz question number 2. And Doc, here it is.
All right. What do you think is causing the higher rates of autism in the United States? RFK is doing some research right now, but I just want to know what you guys think. This is just a survey.
Okay, interesting. Climb on it, folks. And let's go back to our social media. And AW1955 from YouTube, what's the best way to lose belly fat?
If I knew that, would I be sitting here right now? No. I've done a million videos on this. And so belly fat is visceral fat. And visceral fat is fat that's around the organs. It's a spill off of fat from the liver. And this means that you're consuming excess carbohydrates and sugars. And so it could be alcohol as well, but typically it's just too much carb, in which case you just need to go on a low carb diet. Now, one way to do that is to also do intermittent fasting with that to speed it up. And that way we can eliminate the excess conversion into fat from the carbs, bring your insulin down, and flatten your stomach. So if you watch my videos on that, it will work. It's been tested on at least 8,000 people.
Wow. Well, here's an earthy question from Sue Deep from YouTube. What's the best remedy for fissures, which are cracks, unfortunately, around the anus?
That's something. There's different remedies for that, but I would really step back and look at the whole picture in the diet. Like, what are you eating? I think there's something you're eating that you need to change. It could be too much seed oil. It could be this or that that's causing the skin to lose the mucous membranes, dry up, crack. Because you can also have cracks, on the back of your heels. You have cracks in the corners in your mouth, fissures in different places as well. So I would go back to not a specific remedy, but go back to the diet and make sure that your diet aligns with what I recommend, was the healthy version of a ketogenic diet, and see if that doesn't help you.
All right, very good. And let's also acknowledge a shout out to our viewers who just tuned in from Lebanon, or just acknowledge themselves. Lebanon, Bulgaria, the Bahamas, Norway, Wales, and Turkey. So welcome to you folks too. Thanks for mentioning your existence there. Nala from YouTube, what is your opinion for using glass? Oh, I'm sorry, I already did that. Let's try another one. How about J-Life 100 from Rumble? Which has the most nutrients, wild blueberries or organic blueberries? Is there a difference?
Well, I don't know which has the most nutrients. I just knew organic comes without the sprays and the chemicals. Typically, organic has more nutrition, but sometimes it's pretty close, depending on how it's grown. Because sometimes, farmers don't have the certification of organic yet. It's in the nature, but when you're spraying chemicals, you're obviously going to add additional layers of toxicity. And that's a whole different thing than nutrient density. It's just adding more chemicals. So I'm very much against pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, fungicides. So I would eat the organic, but I would think it's healthier.
Can you wash that off or not? Or does it differ depending
I
on the
would
vegetable?
try. I would try to wash it off and see how much you can get off, but some of the stuff does get absorbed, especially in like if you have coconuts, for example, you might have, or even avocados. There might be a difficult time having that penetrate deep inside that pulp. But when you're dealing with peanuts that are in the ground, I think you're going to get heavier, more absorption of pesticides, and this is why if you're going to do peanuts, I would do totally organic. So you really want to look at the shell and see how protective that is, and then definitely wash it off as much as you can. I have videos on this, so you can check it out.
Great. drberg.com, folks. Vicky from YouTube. What supplements are essential for chronic fatigue syndrome? I'm already taking D3K2, doesn't say how much, and zinc and so on. What do we have for Vicky?
Now, I'm thinking about magnesium for sure, but chronic fatigue syndrome can also come from a lot of other sources, especially viruses that come out of remission. And when I was in practice, I would talk to people about chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. They usually had some severe loss or stress that activated these latent viruses, and then they would be chronically tired and inflamed. So in which case, you might not find the nutrients being effective. So I would try to beef up on your B vitamins, B1, and zinc and vitamin D. But if it doesn't work, then suspect more of an immune problem, in which case you're going to have to do whatever you can to reduce your stress. And let's say, for example, you can't reduce your stress because your neighbor is a terrorist or whatever, and every night they're stressing you out when you drive into your house, right? Let's say that, then you're going to have to move. So, and this is why I think a lot of people, when they're just change their environment, they go on a vacation, all of a sudden they do better because there's some type of stress, I don't know, it could be a relationship, a friend, family member, whatever. So you just want to look at what is stressing you out and avoid that thing.
Yeah. I hope that helps. Let's see. Quiz question number 2 asks, what do you think is causing the higher rates of autism in the U.S.? And our astute audience has an opinion where 55% say it's vaccines, 30% say it's more chemicals or plastics in our food supply, 10% say ultra-processed food or packaged foods, and the final 5 say it's exposure to heavy metals. How about this time? Last time they didn't do so well.
This is good. These are great answers, and I want to show you something. I'm going to be releasing a video, but I have to say something before I share this information, because YouTube has certain guidelines, because if it goes against the medical consensus, they consider it misinformation. However, they do allow you to express opposing viewpoints if you're not making any conclusions or claims or having any cures. Okay, so that being said, I want to read something to you on this piece of paper, which you can't see, but you'll be able to see it in the video that I'm about to release, well, probably in 2 weeks. We're looking from a chart from 1990 to present time, okay? 1990, 1 out of 10,000 people had autism. Now it's 1 in 36. You can see every 10 years, it started increasing. These incidents of autism went from 1 to, 2,500 to 1 in 150, 1 in 68, 1 in 44. That's in 2020. Well, there's some interesting correlation. Now, again, I'm not making any conclusions here, but you can see it. I correlated that with the number of vaccine doses under the age of 6. We started at 1980 at 7. Then I went to 12 every 10 years, 12, 24, 36, 45, and now we're at 49. Okay. Now, vaccines by themselves are never used by themselves because it doesn't necessarily create the immune reaction that they want. So they add something to the vaccine to make it amplified, and that's called an adjuvant. And they use different adjuvants. They might use formaldehyde, they might use MSG, mercury, but they've used this other thing for a very long time, and that's aluminum. So what I also correlated was the amount of aluminum exposure that, think about this, you're not consuming it, you're getting it injected, so you get 100% of it. The macrophages in your immune system will eat it and bring it across to the blood-brain barrier. So there's some data on that I'm going to share with you. But anyway, in 1980, you had like 250 micrograms. Then it went up to 1,000, 2,500, 4,000, 4,900, and now it's 5,000 micrograms by the age of 6. So anyway, that's some interesting data. You can make up your own mind about that, but I just want to give you that information because sometimes they don't really list this for some reason on Wikipedia. They'll say that, well, it's a myth. We shouldn't even look to the cause for autism because, a lot of people have a spectral, like a level of autism that is normal for them. So we shouldn't be looking at it. The science is settled, whatever. But in this video, you'll see that there's some additional information that I think is important.
All right. Well, I've been diagnosed with being annoying with some frequency, but I'll deal with that later.
We know that, Steve. Yep,
Yeah,
we definitely
awful.
know that. We're aware of
Okay. But I'm going to stick to it this time and just go straight into our next question. There you are, Doc.
Okay, true or false? The white noise while you sleep, that you actually can have those little machines, right, to create white noise, like maybe it's a background of a waterfall, can lower cortisol more than complete silence when you're sleeping. Is that true or false?
Interesting question. All right, let's go back to social media. MT200 from Algeria on YouTube. Thanks for joining us there. Please create a video on how to eliminate polyp in the gallbladder. Thank you. That's digging down there a little bit. Are you going to do a video for that?
No, I won't do a video, but I will tell you that I think it's just one of those things where, again, obviously something is causing an irritation, right? So look to the food, see what you're eating, clean it up, go back to a standard healthy version of the ketogenic diet, and definitely be careful of the seed oils because that's inflammatory because you're dealing with well, let me back up. Sometimes people will say that, well, there's no real good evidence to show that seed oils directly cause any harm to the body. Okay, so because there's not good evidence, then it's safe, right? Because someone didn't spend the money to do an experiment. Well, just take a look at the process of how they make seed oils. They have to use chemicals to turn something into an oil, and they have to process it. They'll heat it. And these are very fragile oils. They're unsaturated fats. So how could you say they're healthy? They're high in omega-6, so inflammatory. So they can create inflammation, irritation along the digestive tract. And one place it could end up in the gallbladder because also of the irritation of, because you also have anything related to oils could actually, because they involve the bile salts and the activation of bile salts, there could be a problem in that system.
All right, very good. Boy, the audience was quick on this one. And let's see, sometimes it doesn't come right up, but there it is. It asks, true, false, white noise while you sleep can lower cortisol more than just complete science, and 53% of our respondents say it's true, and 47% say the 53% are wrong, and it's false.
It's interesting because I looked at this and it's actually true because apparently just dead silence has a little bit more cortisol than that white noise. Somehow white noise tends to, if it's quiet enough, lower cortisol, which is really interesting when you look at it. But I don't know if I'm going to do a video on it, but I just found that fascinating. So try it out and see if it doesn't help your cortisol levels in the middle of the night when you're trying to sleep.
All right, very good. Let's go to Nikki 6 from Rumble. I've been on Healthy Keto for 2 years, congratulations, but is experiencing thumping in my ears throughout the day. Any thoughts about what could relieve thumping?
When you do intermittent fasting with keto, sometimes your potassium is not going to be high enough because you're not getting enough potassium. But that thumping is a low amount of potassium. So you need more potassium. Apparently the heart is more labored with a deficiency of potassium. Another way to create a deficiency of potassium is consume a lot of refined carbs, like I have in the past, and it sucked out my potassium, and then I felt this like pounding in my ear when I'm sleeping. I'm like, what is that pounding? That is a potassium problem. So add more potassium and the pounding should go away.
That's very encouraging. Elaine from Facebook, what can I do to get rid of skin tags? I've tried everything and nothing works.
I have a video on that. You should watch my latest one. Very simple. You put a drop of iodine in a drop of garlic oil with a Band-Aid over that skin tag. And you just do that for a period of time. And sometimes within a few days, it's gone. Sometimes it takes a few weeks, but it will go away. And in the video that I did on this, I explain why.
All right, very good. That's encouraging. Syad from Facebook, what can I do to address a chronic copper deficiency? How would you know that?
Well, you'd want to start taking copper as a supplement. I think a lot of people are deficient in copper. And one of the challenges is when, I live in the farm area where they have a lot of hay fields and they use NPK. Those are three minerals only. It's potassium, phosphorus, and nitrogen to grow this beautiful hay and for the root structure. But they're not really putting the trace minerals in there. When you put too much nitrogen in the soil, and then you also sometimes maybe they might add glyphosate from the Roundup Ready. What you're doing is you're going to really shut down that copper, create copper deficiency. So ends up in the animals, and then we don't get the copper because people don't eat enough seafood. So that being said, you have a lot of consequences from that. Number one, you need copper to make energy in your mitochondria. You need copper to regulate iron, the excess amount of iron, which can rust out the body, and it can make you anemic if you have too much iron or not enough iron because it's dysfunctional. So I think copper is an underappreciated trace mineral that I think some people are deficient in. You can do a hair sample and figure out if you're deficient. There's other ways as well, but you want to get a good copper supplement to see if that can correct it.
Okay, very good. Why don't we go to our next participant, and her name is Angela. And Angela, I'm going to put you on for one quick question in 30 seconds, please. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you for having me on your show, Dr. Berg. I need support for a 63-year-old woman with Hashimoto, varicose veins, rolling toenails, tinnitus, emotional eater, former ballet teacher with low financial budget to stick on healthy keto and intermittent fasting. She lost last year 60 pounds in 3 months, but got all back. She bought TUDCA, and now she asks if it is safe for her, for former hepatitis B, and for another African man was diagnosed with liver. Maybe he get a liver transplantation. And I would like to give him TUDCA, but I'm not sure if it is good for him.
Well, thank you for your one quick question. So basically you gave me a lot there. I think TUDCA would be good for both of those conditions because it's going to support the liver, and it goes beyond just, making the bile thinner. It has an antioxidant approach, anti-inflammatory for the liver, and also for the brain, and it does just all these miraculous things. So TUDCA is definitely an important one. You mentioned Hashimoto's. I think probably the most important thing for Hashimoto's is to take selenium. Even in most of the East Coast, it's like not even in the the soil. So, and then it's not going to be in the plant, it's not going to be in the animal, and that can affect the immune system. But one of the biggest places it shows up is with Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, but more of an autoimmune. Even if someone has AIDS, probably the most important thing to take is selenium. Even in areas in Africa when they have a lot of selenium in the soil, there's a lot less AIDS because it supports the key quarterback of your immune system, a very specific T cell. So that's what I would do. And then in addition to all those things, all those different conditions, I would really do a periodic prolonged fast for 72 hours, like once a month. It's probably one of the most important things you can do for your health. It's not easy to do for some people. I think Steve fasted for 5 days.
I did. Unbelievable.
And so some people can do it. So you work up to it, but your hunger will go away, and you just got to ride the wave and then stay out of restaurants and bakeries. Right, Steve?
Well, I did. I went into Walmart and I told my daughter, I got to go sit in the car because the smells were alive. I mean, it was like a carnival, and I just left, but I survived.
I know. It's like if someone's cooking something, the smells or the visuals, even thinking about it, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, it intensifies it normally, but you're not hungry. So it's a longing for food, but it's not a craving. So it's a very strange thing.
No, it's a habit.
Yeah,
right.
Is. All right. Well, Angela, thank you so much for a great question. As I told you, Dr. Berg will give you a lot of different information on that. Let's go to another question. And Avi Zakis from Rumble, what's the best way to increase potassium on the carnivore diet? Did we just talk about something like that?
No, we didn't talk about that yet. Yeah, because you're not going to be doing a big salad, right? So I think there might be potassium in bone broth, but I think I would recommend getting it from a supplement, electrolyte powder. That's what I would do.
Okay, very good. Let's go to quiz question number 4 since we answered 3, and there it is.
Why does a warm shower before bed help you sleep? Now, I'm just going to let you know the answer hint is not just relaxing you so you can sleep better, relaxing your muscles. There's another reason why a warm shower before bed will help you sleep.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear that one. So we've asked quiz question number 4. Now we run back to Beth Ann, from YouTube. Should you take bile salts if you don't have a gallbladder?
I think that would be smart, but here's the interesting thing. When you don't have a gallbladder, you still have a tube from your liver to the small intestine. You just don't have the little sac that regulates the amount of bile, and you can't concentrate it anymore. But what happens in some people is and it's hard to know what's going to happen because you get the surgery and then all of a sudden now there's a constant drainage of bile coming down from your liver. And in some people, it's excessive. How do you know it's excessive? Because you have diarrhea now. So then they have to take a medication to slow it down. So in that case, you don't want to be taking bile because you already have too much. If you start getting constipated, then we need bile. If you start noticing like vitamin A deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, because you can't break down the fat, you need bile salts. So it's one of those things that you have to see how you do and kind of test the waters, and because you don't really know what's happening by looking at it or just observing it. So yeah, just get more data on it and just try to figure it out by those indicators.
All right, let's take a last swipe at the green room, and we're going to bring on Jesse, who also has one question that he'd like to ask of you, Dr. Berg. Go ahead, Jesse, with your question.
Hi, how you doing, Dr. Berg? My question to you is, I've been having stomach problems for the past 2 years due to poor diet. I was eating a lot of junk food and a lot of stress at work. And recently, for the past 5 months, I've had acid reflux. That's what the doctors say it is. I tried their medication. I went to different doctors. Nothing really works. I took omeprazole,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried different healers, holistic healers. Nothing really works. And I checked your videos. I started drinking apple cider vinegar, and I didn't see any improvement either. Any recommendations?
So, are you saying that you have acid reflux, or do you have? Is it when you eat or after you eat, you have acid that comes up your esophagus, or do you have heartburn? Describe it more to me.
So I have a little heartburn, but mostly the burning is in my throat, especially in the night.
Okay. Okay. All right. So here's what's happening. The reason why people take an antacid is because obviously there's acid in my esophagus. But here's the thing: the real problem you have to identify is just you have acid in the wrong place. It should be staying in your stomach, and what keeps it in that place is the valve on top of the stomach. So I think you need to fix the valve on the top of your stomach, and the way you do that is you fix the strength of the acid in your stomach. Now, apple cider vinegar diluted in water is probably not going to be strong enough to correct this problem. You're going to have to take something stronger, and what I recommend for that is something called betaine hydrochloride. But even that, it's just building blocks that you have to your body to make more hydrochloric acid. So I would take 4 or 5 of those before a meal, and then maybe even start increasing them slowly over a period of a couple weeks. For some people, they need like 7 or 8 or even 9 or 10 of these betaine hydrochloride supplements before they eat to turn off that regurgitation. And then maybe if you feel more too much acid, and you kind of knock it down a little bit, because you're taking this betaine hydrochloride, so you just kind of make some adjustments over a period of time. But then you might have to do that for some months to correct the pH of the stomach. Then that valve will finally close, because the sensor in that valve is connected to the pH, and normal acid for the stomach is 1 to 3. That's like battery acid. So we need a strong acid to keep that valve shut. I would suspect your pH is more of a 4 or 5. It's too high. And then the valve doesn't have any reason to shut because it's getting wrong information. The one last thing I'm going to say is, if you have an ulcer or gastritis, then if you took the betaine hydrochloride, it would feel worse, in which case, don't take it anymore. You would need something called zinc carnosine to fix the irritation and the ulcer for a period of time before you start to acidify it.
Well,
I just
great.
did a whole seminar in 2 minutes.
You sure did. Jesse, great question along with the rest of our participants today. Thank you for that, and I hope that helps. Let's go to Yetu from YouTube. How can I reduce my hypertension naturally?
I think there's 3 underlying issues with hypertension. And if you look up, 90% of hypertension is essential, which people don't realize that means unknown cause. So they don't know. But I've done videos on this, and I think one of the biggest factors to help lower blood pressure is taking vitamin D in higher amounts, therapeutic dosages. So you might need 20, 30, 40,000 IUs of vitamin D every day, because that's going to increase nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator. And if you're deficient in vitamin D, blood pressure goes up. The next thing I would recommend is magnesium. Magnesium also allows vitamin D to work, and without magnesium, vitamin D can't work. So magnesium will also bring your blood pressure down. It's a vasodilator. And even think about the medication for blood pressure, a calcium channel blocker. Well, guess what? Magnesium is a natural calcium channel blocker. And the last thing I would try, if those didn't work, is more potassium, because potassium also is kind of underappreciated as far as what it can do for blood pressure and relaxing the physiology of the entire body.
Encouraging. Okay, quiz question number 4. Ask, why does a warm shower before bed help you sleep? And you were instructed not to say because it makes you feel cozy and relaxed. And the audience, 55% say that warm showers dilate the vascular system, which signals the body it's time to sleep. And 35%, the same process triggered by lower core body temperatures when you step out. And 10% say it's because it reduces cortisol. How'd they do?
Okay, so check this out. When you go in a cold bath immersion, you get really cold, right? But your body's compensating. And you're going to find through the rest of the day, your body's going to warm up. It's really wild. It's like all of a sudden it's super warm. When you go in the jacuzzi, it warms you up. But then when you get out the rest of the day, you're kind of cooler. So when you take a warm bath, you're warm, but then your body will cool down because you're going to losing heat. And that is one of the requirements to get into this deep sleep is the temperature cool down effect. This is why it's really hard to sleep in a hot room. It's good to cool it down. I have to turn the thermostat to 68 to sleep better. And I have just a sheet on. That's all I use. So it's the cooling effect of the warm, which is pretty interesting.
Great. Okay, audience, sleep well. Let's ask our last quiz question of the day, and here's a true-falser to make it simpler.
True or false? Mouth breathing at night can change the shape of your face, and I'm saying it like in a negative way.
Ouch. Okay, audience. BRLP from Rumble. What are the benefits of taking black seed oil?
Black seed oil has been around for about 4,000 plus years. It's been used, I think, in King Tut's tomb. Like it goes way back. It's like the cure-all magical thing for everything. It has amazing properties. It's probably one of the most important things for, countering certain types of infections and things like that. But yeah, black seed oil is hands down amazing what it can do for your skin, for your hair, for your immune system, for inflammation, for arthritis, for any type of chronic illness, and basically for anything.
Boy, that's encouraging. Okay, Toronto Cookie from Rumble. Is sea salt or pink salt better for you?
Pink salt is an ancient sea in the mountains, so it's less polluted than the sea salt you're getting from the ocean. So you're going to get less plastics, okay? So I think rock salt or Himalayan sea salt is pretty awesome. I would stick with
very
that.
Good. Tara from Facebook, what would you recommend for elderly people with restless leg syndrome?
I would do two things. I would beef up your magnesium, number one, and I would also take natural B1 because both of those could be the reason. Both of those in a deficiency state could be the reason why you have restless leg. I used to have it really bad because I did too much carbohydrate that pulled out the B vitamins, and in the middle of the night I had to be pounding my legs because they're so restless. I wanted to go for a run, so I'd get up and literally run around the block. And little did I know that pint of Ben & Jerry's every night before I go to bed probably wasn't the best thing I was doing for my restless leg syndrome.
Well, live and learn. Okay, we got an immediate answer back on our last question of the day, which was a true-falser. Mouth breathing at night can change the shape of your face, and as you said, not in a attractive way. 98% of the respondents say it's true, and 2% say my face is beautiful.
So it's true, because when you're breathing through your mouth, you're not using all of the muscles and the apparatus in the sinuses, which basically there's a little more restriction going on there, and you're activating different parts of the tongue muscle, and yes, it definitely changes the shape of your face if you're a mouth breather. It's going to be long and narrow, so it's very important to tape your mouth shut, Steve, when you're sleeping.
That's what Lori said. Okay, so now we've done with all our assignments, so it's a marathon of social media questions for the rest, starting with Carol from Facebook. What would you recommend someone diagnosed with MSA, multiple system atrophy? Heard of that?
I would beef up your vitamin D levels to the point where your blood levels are like right around 100. And I would be taking magnesium, which is necessary for the muscles, and just see what happens at that point.
All right, Sizzle from Rumble. I have a pain on the front right side of my rib cage. I have stopped eating carbs, and that somewhat helps, but I guess looking for other advice.
TUDCA. What that's going to do, it's going to thin the bile, which is on the right side. The bile ducts are on the right side, and it's probably you have some backup, it's sludge in there, so we need to thin that out with the TUDCA. It's a type of bile salt that'll thin it out. Take 2 on an empty stomach twice a day, and that should get rid of that pain for you. And of course, then change the diet, because you're obviously eating something that's aggravating something in the biliary or gallbladder area.
Wow. Okay, Sarah from Facebook. What are the benefits of consuming good old coconut oil?
It has lauric acid, which is good for the immune system. It's also going to give you MC, medium chain triglyceride fats, which is can help you get more ketones. And it's a safe fat to cook with and use in your diet versus the seed oil. So you want to start using these other oils in your cooking versus the seed oils.
Okay, and here's a tough one. Patricia from YouTube, what would you recommend for my niece who has polycystic ovary syndrome? I don't think that's good.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome is a situation where you have too much androgen in the female body, and you're getting this these effects of facial hair, deeper voice, hair loss, weight gain. It can be so easily resolved if you just understand what's causing this high androgen effect, and that is too much insulin. And it's what happens is like the androgen testosterone is being converted into this very powerful form of testosterone called DHT. Well, if you can lower your insulin level, then you can shift this thing back and get rid of it pretty quickly. So now the big question is, how do you lower insulin? And for that, we'll talk about that next month. Now, you simply just cut down the carbohydrates as low to zero as possible, and don't eat so frequently. And guess what? That will solve the problem very quickly. I would do it. I'd try it, and then report back to us to tell us your success.
Good. That's encouraging. Kelly from YouTube, which supplements are best for regulating female hormones?
You know, a few things come to mind when you deal with hormones. You know, obviously, you need enough of the raw material for those hormones, like cholesterol and high-quality amino acids. So any of the grass-fed meats would be dynamite. But then also I would do some shellfish for the trace minerals that you also need. And then, of course, you have the B vitamins and things like that. You know, royal jelly is quite magical for fertility and female hormones as well. I'm going to be doing a video on that, and you can get that as a supplement. But I think that would be probably more for if you have a hormonal problem that's relating to infertility. That's a different issue.
Okay, I think we've got enough time for one more. Yarna from YouTube, would methylene blue help with a strep infection?
I don't know. I don't think it's probably going to be the best thing for that. I know it's good for TB and other types of things, and it's good for a chronic metabolic disease, anything chronic illness that involves the mitochondria being damaged, okay, which, by the way, is pretty common. But for a strep infection, I would recommend beefing up instead your vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D levels. And there's a whole host of other things that you can do, which I have videos on. But if you catch it in time, I think you can prevent it. Also, if you have a strep infection that is involved with a sore throat, you should watch my video on sore throat, because I show you a technique that can, at the very minimum, reduce the soreness in the throat, the pain in your throat, with a simple technique. Now, you're going to be very skeptical when you see this technique, until you read these random, organically created comments where people are like, "Oh my gosh, it worked! It worked! It worked! It worked! It worked!" There's so many of those that goes beyond, way beyond placebo or me paying them to say that. Okay, so and I have several videos on that. These are legitimate successes. It's one of those things, just try it and see if it works. And then if it does, great. On that note, Steve, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you next week, same time, same place.